After 2 months of being shut down, casinos are just starting to reopen. But what does blackjack look like now in the COVID-19 era? I'm going to share with you the good, the bad, and the ugly of what we're seeing out there. Hey, I'm Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and if you're like me, I've been under quarantine for 2.5 months and counting, but around the country, roughly 1 in 5 casinos is already reopened. More are opening up every week, and I'm having some of my friends send me pictures and videos, and we're getting a feel for what things are looking like living in the coronavirus era in casinos. So I want to share with you what we're seeing, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the good. One of the best things we're seeing out there is that it wasn't the end of beatable blackjack when the casinos shut down. There was this kind of paranoia, Armageddon theory that casinos, when they shut down, they were going to remove all the beatable blackjack tables, put in CSMs or terrible rules. We'd come back and advantage play would be dead. Well, that didn't happen. I'm getting all sorts of reports that rules in general are very much exactly the same, some a little better, maybe some a little worse, depending on the casino and the dealer. But in general, things are still as beatable as they were before the casinos shut down. This is great news for any of us that make a living off of beating blackjack. So some of these casinos have these plexiglass dividers up, and one of the fears was that you wouldn't be able to see the other players' cards. As a card counter, we need to be able to count our cards, dealers' cards, and the other players. Well, the good news that people are reporting to me is that you still can't see the other players' cards, so this is not interfering with our ability to count cards at the table. One of the other things that's different is to encourage social distancing. Casinos are only allowing 2 to 3 players per blackjack table. This is actually really good for us as card counters. One of the really important things to make more money is to play more rounds per hour. Well, if you're playing at a table with 6 or 7 people at the table, you're probably not going to play more than 40 or 50 rounds per hour. If you're at a table heads up or with just one other player, you're going to be playing closer to 200 rounds per hour blackjack. So that's a 4 to 5x difference. It's a really big deal. As one of my pro card counter friends said, he'd rather not play blackjack than play a super slow table. Well, by casinos limiting the tables to 2 to 3 people, it's providing a faster game, which is great for us. One of the other things we're seeing out there is, it sounds fairly universal, casinos are requesting or even demanding that players wear a mask. Well, if you want to conceal your ID, this is awesome. There are a lot of casinos that I can't just walk into and not be recognized because I've already been backed off there before. There's plenty I can still walk into and no one's going to recognize me. But having a mask going into a place that I have been into before that doesn't want me playing there is perfect cover. One guy was telling me that he went in there, this is a professional card counter, wearing his mask. He's betting from $25 to 2 spots of $1,500, a really huge bet spread, wins some money, but eventually gets backed off and even trespassed, told that he'll be arrested for trespassing if he comes back. What does he do? Change his hat, change his clothes, still a mask. There's no way they could have known with the mask on who the hell this guy was. So, he can just go back with a different outfit and do it all over again. Now, there's another side of the coin that I'll get into in the bad, but this mask thing could actually be a good thing for us. One other positive here is that the staff is spread really thin. Some of these casinos, they're having fewer pit bosses per pit. They're elongating the pits to have more tables with fewer staff, just so that there's not as much overhead for the casinos. But what that means is the pit bosses, they can't watch so many tables. And some of them, they haven't been working for 2 months. So I'm hearing about all sorts of mistakes that pit bosses and dealers are making. This stuff can be incredibly valuable to the smart advantage player if the casinos can't really keep up on what's happening and are making mistakes in the player's favor. All of these things are positives that make card counting right now, in some ways, especially viable. Well, let's get into some of the bad that we're seeing at the casinos. One negative, and this is something that I predicted in the video I put out a month ago, is that they have fewer low limit tables open. So what some of these casinos are doing to make up for the fact that they only have 2 or 3 players per table is they're raising the table minimum just to extract more value out of the people that are playing at the tables. Well, if you're on a smaller bankroll, this is not good for you. If you can only play $5 or $10 tables and the lowest limit you can find available is $25, you're out of luck. It gets compounded by the next bad, which is that they do not want people just lingering around the tables. So if you are someone that primarily back counts and wongs in at a positive true count, you can't do this at a lot of casinos. Those things are going to make it tougher. You might need to wait until restrictions ease up and they open lower limit tables, or you might have to hunt for casinos that have some lower limit tables open. I'm hearing about good beatable 3 to 2, $5 tables open at some regions. Other places, the lowest limit of a beatable blackjack game is $15. So those things are unfortunate. You're gonna have to do what you can during this time. Don't overbet. That's gonna destroy your bankroll. You gotta know what you can afford to bet and deal with it how you're gonna have to. The next bad thing we're seeing out there is kind of the flip side to this mask situation, which is that some casinos are demanding ID before you enter. They might either make you pull your mask down and look in a camera so they can verify your ID, or they might need you to use a player's card or swipe an ID card to enter into the casino. Now, some places in the country, this has always been the case, but if you're like me, you're a known advantage player. I can't go to my nearest casino and just show them my ID and be welcomed in. They're gonna say, you've been told before you're not welcome here. This could be a negative. There are some ways around it, legal ways around it, but you might have to just find which casinos aren't demanding ID to get in there, and then you're golden with your mask on. For now, this is the situation. They're saying it's to maybe trace people that are confirmed later to have coronavirus, to do this like contact tracing thing. I don't know. I don't like it. I hope that this doesn't last for long, but for now, some casinos are demanding ID. Okay, we've talked about the good and the bad. Now let's get to the ugly. One ugly thing I've heard is that one of the first regions that reopened their casinos after like 2 days panicked. They were so afraid of advantage players that they changed their table limits. They changed it from being, say $25 to $500 to $100 minimum, $300 maximum. They're just so afraid of people beating them that they changed their limits. Well, we need to be able to bet less when the casino has the advantage and bet more when we have the advantage to really beat the game. 100 to 300, it's hard to beat that game with card counting. That is not good for us. However, this is the classic case of casinos cutting off their nose to spite their face. They think, oh no, we're gonna protect our game for these advantage players, while at the same time, they're saying none of these other gamblers that wanna bet $25 or $50 or $500 are allowed to bet that at this table. My buddy Andy Ewell, he wrote the Blackjack Insiders. He's an expert in advantage play and in game protection working for casinos. He says casinos do this all the time. They're trying to protect money and costing themselves more money by being so paranoid about, the 1 in 10,000 gambler like me, or hopefully you, that knows how to beat the game. Another ugly thing that we're seeing out there is little to no social distancing at these casinos. Don't at me with your conspiracy theories, your political beliefs, your coronavirus beliefs. I'm not really interested. I'm just being pragmatic here. My guess is if the virus starts spreading a bit faster because people aren't, they're just brushing up against each other or whatever, if that transmission rate increases and we get a lot more confirmed cases, governors are going to shut everything back down again. Not interested in a political or whatever discussion. I'm just saying if this gets pulled back, it's going to be bad for us as card counters. I want casinos opening up more and more so we can get back in there and be able to play blackjack again. Of course, if you're at risk, don't do it. Protect yourself. We're still at the beginning stages of casinos reopening. I'm still in lockdown after over 2.5 months, but we're going to keep an eye on things. I'm hoping that this virus kind of starts to die down and casinos can reopen so all of us advantage players, we can get back to beating blackjack for real money. We'll keep an eye on things. We'll let you know. To learn more about beating blackjack, you can subscribe below, or you can check out blackjackapprenticeship.com, where we teach people how to beat blackjack for real money. We'll catch you next time.